The last time that we updated our Dynasty rookie rankings was literally, I think, the day after the draft. So everything was so new, and it was like the meme where Mr. Krabs says like everything's swirling around him and everything's really confusing. That's how I felt at that time. So we've had a little bit of time. We're putting the meme up on the screen. I'll send it to you.
Okay.
We've had a little bit of time to sort out what's been going on with these Dynasty rookie drafts and also evaluate independently how we think these guys should be ranked. So we're going to rank the top 24, I think technically 26, Dynasty rookies today and put them into tiers. Justin Herbert over there had to go throw some balls to Quentin Johnston, so he had to get his lawnmower cleaned. We're trying to think of a funny excuse, but
his gym coach is maybe cutting his hair or something.
All right, do us a favor, support the channel, make sure you like the video, and make sure you subscribe. We've got in-depth Dynasty research and analysis, rankings, roster advice coming your way, so make sure you're subscribed as well. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate all you guys supporting us. We're going to rank the top 24 guys today, and again, our opinion, this is not set in stone. You have to do it this way. Obviously, everybody's
getting set in stone.
It's getting there, but everybody's rankings are going to fluctuate. We understand that you're going to have different opinions, so let us know in the comments right now who your first-tier rookies are. We're going to give you ours, and ours has been fairly controversial over the last 3 months, but it's something that we called early and we've stuck to, and that's going to be in the S tier, Bijan Robinson and Anthony Richardson. You're talking about both these guys. I'll touch on Bijan real quick. Bijan Robinson, the best running back prospect come out since Saquon Barkley. He got top 10 draft capital. He's going to the team that ran the ball more than any other team in the NFL last year. He's a guy that could easily come in and actually, honestly, he could come in and break records. Like, I mean, pretty quickly too, in my opinion.
Yeah,
he could be a fantasy game breaker. So
perfect situation.
Bijan Robinson, again, a guy that has been in this S tier, will continue to stay in this S tier. He has lived up to the hype as a prospect, and he's going to continue to. And then our new favorite player, Anthony Richardson.
Anthony Richardson, baby. This guy is, he's in the S tier for a lot of Dynasty creators now, a lot of people in the Dynasty community. We've even seen him go as high now, I think, is the 111 in Dynasty startups even over Bijan Robinson.
That's brave.
And that is incredibly brave. That's a little bit rich for us, but this is something that we called a long time ago. If AR gets top 5 draft capital, then he's going to be in this S tier with Bijan and sitting comfortably pretty much at 102. We were right, and this, perfect situation that he's sitting in with the Colts. We talk about it all the time, but nothing much more to say here. Cannot wait to see what he does in that offense, in the six-back offense, Steichen's offense with Jonathan Taylor, with Michael Pittman, and now Josh Downs. Very exciting.
Absolutely. And moving down to the A tier here, we've got Bryce Young, obviously going 101 to the Panthers. He doesn't possess near the ceiling or rushing upside as an Anthony Richardson does. However, when you're looking at value insulation and value security, when you're looking at his college production, he won the Heisman. I mean, this is a guy that while he's stepping into a situation that's not fantastic from a weapon standpoint in Carolina, and they're clearly going to be in a rebuild, and they're going to be missing some picks now because they moved up to grab him.
At least they have Jonathan Mingo. He's just going to change everything.
Jonathan Mingo will single-handedly propel Bryce Young to be the quarterback 1 overall. But with Bryce Young, he's a very safe prospect. And honestly, you can't go wrong taking him anywhere from the 102, which is where a lot of people are taking him over Anthony Richardson, to the 106. And he should not be going anywhere past that. He's a very safe prospect. He's the number 1 overall pick for a reason, and we really like Bryce Young. CJ Stroud is a guy that we also like in this tier as well.
Yeah, C.J. Stroud going into arguably a better situation. Is that really saying much? Not really. The Texans suck too, but C.J. Stroud, we really like his potential rushing upside in the NFL. He didn't do it much in college, but when he did,
everybody's going to be like, rushing
upside? What are you talking about?
Upside?
Please go watch the Georgia game. Please understand that C.J. Stroud was a better passer in college than Justin Fields, so they actually didn't make him run the ball because he was actually a good passer. So I think the same thing will happen in the NFL, where he's going to be primarily a solid pocket passer, and he'll be able to create outside the pocket if the play breaks down, and he can make things happen with his legs.
He's not a rushing quarterback, but he has rushing production upside. That's a different thing. He's not a run first quarterback, but he can run if he needs to. And I think you can't argue that he has the athleticism for that. And people are probably going to be mad about what you said about Justin Fields, but you just probably try to ignore it at this point. Jaxon Smith-Njigba is Jaxon Smith-Njigba.
Skip in the comments.
Skip Bayless of Dynasty content. JSN, a guy that we've had here in this 5 position, as high as 4, for this entire process. Even back in the day when people were like, oh, it's possible that JSN is going to slide into the second round, which is true. People are like, who's shorting JSN? In January and February, a lot of people were. A lot of people were seeing mock drafts where analysts were putting him in the second round and saying JSN could actually not be this good, and it is just recency bias. We hadn't seen him play. But when we did see him play, obviously we got all we need to know. He played with Garrett Wilson, he played with Chris Olave, and he just, completely dominated on the field at Ohio State in his sophomore season. Right? It was a sophomore season, right?
Yeah.
So we've seen enough from JSN. He's going to be very good. He's going into a situation where he's going to be utilized a lot and has a good quarterback, and we really like his value here. And then Jahmyr Gibbs, a guy that has been going flip-flop with JSN. We just can't comfortably put JSN in front of him, but we really like Jahmyr Gibbs as well.
Yeah, Gibbs is a guy who has elite receiving upside as a running back, and when you're talking PPR leagues, man, that's invaluable at the running back position. He's averaging exactly 9 yards per reception in college
yep.
his last year, and that is right around the threshold that we're looking for keepers in the NFL from a receiving standpoint at the running back position. Gibbs obviously getting that insane, you could even say, reach in draft capital, going just 4 picks after Bijan Robinson at the 112 in the NFL to the Lions, replacing DeAndre Swift, who goes to the Eagles. Great situation, in my opinion. I think he's going to light it up in that offense, which is already stacked with Amon-Ra St. Brown and I'm not going to say, well, I just said JMO, I guess, but they have a very, very good offense, and I'm excited to see what Gibbs does there.
Yeah.
He's not going to disappoint.
Absolutely. And moving down to the B tier, this is where we've had an adjustment. Our initial inclination after the draft was to move Flowers out of this tier, and then, upon further review, Zay Flowers is absolutely in this tier. And you could arrange, these 3 guys back to back to back any way you want. And with our first one here is going to be Quentin Johnston, and primarily this is going to be because he has the best situation. He's stepping into an offense where, when you look at the injury history of Mike Williams and Keenan Allen, he has some opportunity to be that alpha wide receiver there from day one. He's very young, he's got good size, but he doesn't play like a big wide receiver. He's very agile for his size, and because of that, and because of his skill set, and because of where he was drafted, I think the Chargers are going to look to get him involved very early. I think he's a guy that, when you look at the quarterback that's throwing to him, Justin Herbert, you're taking Justin Herbert or Kirk Cousins, and from a passing standpoint over Lamar Jackson as well. So from a quarterback standpoint, he's got the best quarterback out of this group. We like Quentin Johnston. He's very young. He's only 21 years old, and he could be a cornerstone asset for your Dynasty team, as well as Jordan Addison, who's going to be the wide receiver 2 on his team, but still going to a really good situation. Yeah,
we definitely went in this B tier. We went ceiling, safety, and floor, really in that order. And Addison, we're going with safety here. We're sandwiching him in between these 2 guys, but honestly, his ceiling is just going to be the lowest of these 3. That's the downside to Addison. The upside to Addison is that, again, he's incredibly safe. He was incredibly productive in college at an early age. Yes, his production went down at USC, but it was a completely different offense. He went to play with Lincoln Riley at USC and Caleb Williams, but he was still very, very efficient and a very solid receiver. He's a perfect fit in that Vikings offense behind Justin Jefferson. Don't worry about what he's going to do production-wise or won't do production-wise behind J-Jeff, because all you got to do is look back at Adam Thielen in his prime and see what he did with J-Jeff, and they're going to help each other. They are.
Yeah, absolutely. And Zay Flowers is a guy. Zay Flowers has really got the butt end of the criticism here in terms of
he shouldn't be.
And I don't really understand. Like, I don't think, Odell Beckham Jr., he's old now. Come on.
Overpaid.
Yeah, and with Rashad Bateman hasn't really proven that he can be a true alpha wide receiver. So with Zay Flowers, a lot of people, again, are pointing to his college production, which they did before the draft. But Zay Flowers is absolutely a guy that can go into that Ravens offense and be a very good wide receiver, if not the wide receiver 1. He's again, another guy that's very young, another guy that has very good draft capital. And his situation, he's going to an offense where I think a lot of people are looking at it like it's going to be Greg Roman's offense, and people are not realizing that in reality, their offensive scheme is going to be a little bit different. You've seen the comments from Lamar. We'd like to throw X amount of times this year or more. I think he's 500 or 600 is what he said. So
yeah,
it's going to be a different offense. You're going to see a different style of play, and Zay Flowers absolutely could flourish there. Flowers could flourish. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, Greg Roman, the exit of Greg Roman in that offense is really key to why we still have Flowers in this tier and why I think he deserves to be there. He belongs there. And next to Mark Andrews, man, he could be the next dominant thing in that offense.
And moving down to the C tier, in a Superflex league especially, obviously, if you're in a 1 QB, just remove these QBs, but we've got Will Levis here.
William Levis.
Billiam.
This guy, when you see a quarterback with the I guess the film and the production in college and the draft capital league is, when you see this guy like Will Levis going early second where Tennessee trades up for him, like you may as well just consider this a mid to late first round pick for a quarterback. He literally, if the Colts did not land Anthony Richardson, they would have taken Levis at 104. Like, that was legit stated. Like, we're not making that up. Levis had that, as disgusting as it sounds, he did, to an extent, he did deserve to go in the first round. So Levis is being shorted because of his draft capital. It is very rare to see quarterbacks go in the second rounds. Like historically, they're either first round or they're kind of nothing burger rounds, third or beyond. And Levis is one of those guys, early second. You don't see that very often, but it's enough investment that Tennessee is absolutely giving him an opportunity. And Tannehill's on the way out, guys. He's on the way out. He's been struggling with injury. I think Levis starts I honestly think he could start day one.
I think he starts day one.
And in a division that's up for grabs, they may let him ball out. So I think he's a really good value here.
They have nothing to lose. And with Zach Charbonnet, who's going to be next on this list, I'm definitely my guy for a year. And I was just devastated. But go back and watch. We released a video this week on Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. Go back and watch that video because Nathan did a really good job of doing research on both of those backs and how they're going to complement each other in the offense. And it makes Zach Charbonnet at this range a little bit more appealing, I think. I mean, they're definitely going to be bringing him in to do some receiving work. They're definitely trying to not make Kenneth Walker a workhorse back, which he is not. And I think he's going to get enough production and enough opportunity in Seattle that he's going to be valuable from a fantasy standpoint. And Dalton Kincaid rounds out this tier for us as well.
Dalton Kincaid gets a dream landing spot for any tight end going in the first round, and I think he's poised to. We don't say this very often. We are not tight end stands in Dynasty outside of the Elite Six. It is saying a lot that we already are ranking him this high and going 19th overall to the Buffalo Bills when they trade up for him after signing Dawson Knox to a long-term deal. I think this speaks volumes to Dalton Kincaid's talent and his ability in the receiving game to really make an impact immediately. Do I think this means that he's going to be an elite tight end right off the bat? Probably not. That's pretty rich. But hey, of all the offenses that he could do it, and in such a bare tight end landscape in Dynasty, this is a perfect opportunity, perfect place for this to actually happen. So
absolutely,
I think there's very little risk in going with Kincaid here. Dropping
down to the D tier. At the front of this tier, we're going to put Josh Downs. And Josh Downs, obviously, you haven't seen our video. Go watch our video. It's called You Buy This Rookie Wide Receiver in Every League. And we talk about Josh Downs and his advanced metrics, why we think his situation in Indianapolis may have been the best possible situation for him, why we're not scared about his draft capital. And again, those are things that we're not as concerned about. We think he's going to be the wide receiver 2 in Indianapolis. We think he's going to fit well in that offense, and we think Anthony Richardson's going to be using him a lot. He was a prospect that fell a little bit further than everybody thought he would, and I think if people are using that alone as reason to just stop drafting him, I guess, we're going to see through that. We're going to call our shot. We're going to rank him here in the D tier, and Marvin Mims right behind him, two guys that we just love as prospects from the wide receiver position.
Yeah. Marvin Mims has been a guy that we've been singing praises for even before the combine, even before all of his measurables came out officially. And he's a guy that got second round draft capital as a wide receiver. Simon and I especially were thrilled about this. Avery was shocked that Downs hadn't gone yet, and honestly I was too. The reason we have him behind Downs, even though I was right about Mims going over Downs.
Yeah, I know, whatever.
Even though I didn't expect it. I'm lower on Mims' landing spot than I am Downs. This is not just because we're homers and we like the Colts, but I mean we got to be realistic here.
We're not homers. People were accusing us of that. Like last year, we were telling you, everybody's saying Michael Pittman was a top 12 dynasty wide receiver. We're like, no, he's not. I mean, we are pretty realistic with our Colts. We know them fairly well, and we'll tell you when somebody's overvalued.
Yeah, I'm just worried about the type of wide receiver that Marvin Mims could be in that offense. And Jerry Jeudy, we are not Jerry Jeudy stans. We don't love Jerry Jeudy as much as a lot of people in the Dynasty community do, but he is a very good wide receiver and he commands targets in the short to intermediate game. And Marvin Mims, from a skill set perspective, like he, with his speed and what he showcased at the NFL Combine, I think it's I think he could be the deep threat in that offense and Sean Payton's new offense there in Denver. And that just scares me from a game-by-game perspective, and his consistency from a fantasy perspective could be a lot lower than what Josh Downs is going to get as the clear slot wide receiver, the only slot wide receiver in the Colts offense. I'm not sure Mims is going to play that role in Denver. So that's why we have him behind Downs. But again, the draft capital, you got to trust it. You got to be excited about it. I think there's good things for Mims in that offense, and I think this is a death sentence for Courtland Sutton especially.
We're talking about Roschon Johnson next. He's one of our favorite values in rookie drafts. Go watch our video from yesterday about Roschon Johnson. We've got all kinds of in-depth analysis in there on why we think he's such a value, but honestly, he's a guy that we have him ranked this high. He's not going this high. This is a guy you're going to get much later. You're going to get him in the mid-second, late second, and honestly, I like Roschon Johnson as much as I like any of these receivers here as well. And if somebody's taking Roschon Johnson, I can't necessarily blame them because of the immediate potential production upside that he's going to have from a contender value standpoint this year. So Roschon Johnson went to probably the best situation he could have. Now we're going to have to see if his talent overcomes his draft capital and he makes it long term there. And then rounding out this tier is going to be Michael Mayer.
Yeah, Michael Mayer didn't go as high up on draft boards as people thought he might. A lot of people expecting him to be the tight end one. We thought it'd be Kincaid. We called it. We were right. And Mayer goes in the second round of the NFL draft to honestly a pretty great landing spot. They move on from Darren Waller. They go younger with Michael Mayer. And you've got Jimmy Garoppolo in that offense, who from a fantasy perspective isn't sexy, but for tight ends in that offense, you got to be thinking George Kittle. And no, Michael Mayer is not George Kittle. We're not saying that yet, but they did take him in the second round. There's plenty of targets to go around. And yes, Davante Adams is a dominant target hog in that offense, but I mean, it's tight ends. Come on, they maintain their value at worst as rookies, and I'm excited to see what he can do in that offense.
Dropping down to the F tier, we've got Kendre Miller going to the New Orleans Saints. This is a guy that I think some people are arguing could be in the first round, and really, we're not putting him that high yet. When you look at Kendre Miller, he was a fairly good prospect, fairly good college player. I'm not so convinced that he's going to be the workhorse back there if Alvin Kamara's not there. I think they definitely paid Jamal Williams for a reason. I think Alvin Kamara, I think there's a good chance he doesn't get suspended right away, or, I mean, that situation is still in flux. We don't know enough about that to be drafting Kendre Miller that high. But when you're talking about like mid to late second, we like him there because, again, he's going to a Saints offense that from an opportunity perspective, he has, plenty of opportunity there to take over that workhorse back role if he actually does come out and prove that he's capable of it. So we like him here. Short term, not sure. It's going to depend on Alvin Kamara, but long term, he has decent draft capital. What was he, third or fourth?
Third round.
I thought he was third.
Round.
So,
yep.
so it's better than fourth for sure. Day two guy. And, we have him above Devon Achane, who is our next guy for a reason. But we like Kendre Miller fairly well for the situation.
He's poised to be a starting running back in that offense. If,
I think so too. Kamara's
doesn't
dying.
pan out.
So.
Devon Achane is going to be our next guy. You can call us stubborn. You can call us whatever the heck you want with Achane. We've been downers on Achane from really kind of the beginning, and I think it's been merited. I would say we're rationally stubborn about this. Yes, he got better draft capital than we thought he would. He got day two draft capital. Good for him. Let's give him a round of applause. I'm done. Okay. We always say draft capital's king. Absolutely true. From a longevity standpoint, Achane will probably be a great gadget guy for the foreseeable future, wherever he ends up playing long term. But when you're looking at the landing spot, it literally could not be a worse landing spot from a fantasy perspective. That's already an oversaturated backfield there with Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert. Then you throw in Achane. Who knows what they're going to do in free agency if they make any more moves there. And there's these guys named like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I don't know if you've really ever heard of those guys, but they're kind of super cool and kind of super awesome, and they kind of super produce at an elite level, both of them at the same time, and they're not afraid to throw the ball in that offense. So Achane is limited. His fantasy upside's limited. He's a fast guy. He'll show some flashes. He's an elevated Nyheim Hines at best.
Yeah, absolutely. And then also, talking about Sam LaPorta in this tier, Sam LaPorta is a guy that I personally have been very high on when I saw his price. He's going mid to late second and sometimes early third. He's a guy he had very good draft capital. He was drafted higher than Michael Mayer. He's a guy that is extremely athletic, a little bit smaller, but not to where it's a concern. When you look at what he did last year, I think he was first in yards versus man coverage, which is a good indicator of how tight ends translate to the NFL. So when you're looking at that, when you're looking at his athleticism, when you're looking at the offense he's going to, and the potential to produce there right away from a receiving standpoint because of Jameson Williams' new suspension, Sam LaPorta is a guy that could flash early, and honestly, you might be able to even just flip. But from a rookie tight end perspective, we usually don't like these guys. However, this is where it starts to get really hairy, and we like Sam LaPorta long term. I think he's going to be using the slot a little bit, so Sam LaPorta, to us, is a pretty safe pick in this range. And then we've got a guy that we've been talking about a lot recently, and that's Jayden Reed. Don't freak out.
I'm not going to. I already went that route earlier. Jayden Reed is a guy who's going to be the slot receiver in that offense. He's going to be probably the easiest target for Jordan Love, who is essentially a rookie quarterback, needs a lot of experience. He's not going to be launching it downfield to Christian Watson, and Christian Watson isn't going to magically turn into some slot receiver who's a target dominator in the Green Bay offense this year. Yeah. So Reed is absolutely he's an experienced guy. He's 23 years old, gets second round draft capital. You got to trust the draft capital, got to trust the situation. It honestly is a pretty good situation for Jayden Reed. Expecting some decent production from him right off the bat.
Rashee Rice got fine draft capital, and the difference I think here between us and everybody else is people are just dying to make the same mistake as we've always made with Kansas City wide receivers, to elevate them.
The KC fallacy.
Remember Sky Moore?
Yep.
Not that Sky Moore's not good and he's dead, because he did only you are going to give him more time to break out. However, I think it was proved, that Sky Moore was not this very, very good prospect. And Rashee Rice is the same thing. Honestly, from a prospect perspective, I don't think anybody was as high as him as they were on Sky Moore. But when you're looking at, he's sliding up into the early second of these drafts, and we really can't take him there. You see it with Patrick Mahomes. It's going to be a different receiver every single game for them. They still got Kadarius Toney there. Travis Kelce's always going to be the wide receiver one there, even as a tight end. So, as much as we like Rashee Rice, we're not going to reach on him. We'll take him comfortably in the second round. But we like him, just right here in between some of these other receivers we're kind of not sure about, and the next one being the coveted Jonathan Mingo.
The best receiver in this class, Jonathan Mingo. I would comfortably take him over Jaxon Smith-Njigba. He's going into a completely open wide receiver room. What's he going to do there? He's going to be completely dominant. Why? Because he was dominant in college and just one of the best prospects I've ever seen. False. He was whatever. At this point, you just have to trust the draft capital. He's going to maintain his value probably, unless he sucks like I think he might. Honestly, I think the Panthers reached for him. We know Frank Reich well. We know that he likes
got great draft capital.
Receivers. Great draft capital.
Yeah,
That's why we're taking him here in this
absolutely.
tier.
Yeah, you have to keep him on here. All right, moving down to our last tier, the G tier, and that's going to start with Cedric Tillman going to, honestly, an offense where I think there's plenty of targets to go around. I think their passing volume will be elevated, and Deshaun Watson is going to be passing the ball a lot. You have Amari Cooper there, and outside of that, it's a fight between Elijah Moore, David Njoku, Nick Chubb from the backfield, and I'm missing somebody, Donovan Peoples-Jones, and even David Bell. But in Cedric Tillman, when you're talking about skill-wise, he's not going to be too far off from any of those guys in terms of could he actually break out and be the wide receiver 2 there. And are we expecting that? Probably not, but at the same time, I think you have to respect where he went from a landing spot standpoint and from a draft capital standpoint, and we'd comfortably take him here in the late second, early third. We'd like his value currently in Dynasty. Luke Musgrave's the guy going, pretty much start of the third that we like as well, with a lot of opportunity there in that offense.
Again, rookie tight ends, all they really have to do is have about 5 receptions in one game for the entire year of their rookie season, and they'll go up in value significantly. So I'll easily take Musgrave here. He's a pretty easy short to intermediate target for Jordan Love in Green Bay's offense. They took a shot on him. He got solid DC, replacing Robert Onion, who was garbage, and, it's a better situation for him. I'll take him here easy.
Yeah, and Michael Wilson's going to be in this tier as well. And with Michael Wilson, a guy that has struggled to stay healthy in college, but going to an Arizona Cardinals offense where if DeAndre Hopkins gets traded, he could be as high as the wide receiver 2. So again, we're putting him here because of the potential to go up the depth chart on his own team. Obviously a bigger guy. He brings a lot to the table from a skill set standpoint in terms of how he fits in that offense and what he could provide for that offense. They've been missing a little bit of that. And so Michael Wilson's a guy that we're keeping an eye on, a guy that we like here, and a guy that we love taking flyers on. Tyjae Spears, without an ACL, makes it on to the G tier of our Dynasty rookie rankings, but lower on Tyjae, by the way, we know. But
once you get to the late second, early third, mid third in rookie drafts, shoot your shot, man. Tyjae Spears gets third round draft capital. That's saying something since he literally doesn't have an ACL and, not much tendon left in that knee, but, speaks volumes that Tennessee wanted to invest in him. Stop worrying about where he's going to be 4 years down the road. This is a third round investment here. Come on. If Derrick Henry goes down, or if Derrick Henry gets moved, surprisingly, then Spears may get an opportunity, and I think he'll easily jump Hassan Haskins. He's a much more talented prospect. He'll be the RB2 in that offense. It's not saying much, but again, if the opportunity presents itself, there's a chance for some fantasy points in that offense as much as Vrabel likes to run the ball.
And, with Jalin Hyatt here, he went, we had him propped up our draft boards because we thought he was going to go higher because we thought somebody would bite on him. They didn't.
Everyone thought someone
he went in the third
him.
round going to the Giants. He's not somebody that I would expect. He's probably going to be more of a big play guy there. I don't see him being a PPR guy, which meaning that he's probably going to have a little bit more of a boomer bust profile from a fantasy standpoint. Just a guy I'm not drafting a lot of personally, but at the same time, you have to put him on here. He was a Biletnikoff winner. He was a very good college receiver. He got respectable draft capital. Again, from a fantasy perspective, I'm just not sure how it translates, but he's a guy you have to respect. And then Hendon Hooker in a Superflex league is going to be our last guy in this tier.
Yep, Hendon Hooker, third round draft capital. We almost never, ever, ever, ever advocate for QBs climbing up depth charts when they have third round or later draft capital. But this is an awkward situation for the Lions. They didn't draft a QB in the first round like they could have taken Levis. And Jared Goff is nearing the end of his deal. So if the Lions kind of disappoint this year and Hendon Hooker makes progress with his ACL and they like what they see in training camp and they like what they see during the season and he really takes strides, then there's a chance there that Hendon Hooker could, maybe even in 2024 have a chance to take that starting job for the short term. So there's a chance that you can get a market value positive here in the later rounds of your rookie drafts. We're not counting on that really, but again, it's a dart throw, man. In a Superflex league, take your shot.
This is just our opinions and just how we've ranked these guys and how we've been drafting. So let us know what you think in the comments, politely, obviously, but let us know how you differ from us and which guys you like and dislike that we have ranked maybe too high or too low. We'd love to hear from you on that. Make sure you support the channel and drop a like on the video and make sure you subscribe for in-depth Dynasty analysis and research and also roster advice and rankings like these, which, again, they're going to be our opinion, but we'll see how it pans out. I think we're going to have a pretty good track record. We did pretty good pre-draft. So, all right. We really appreciate you guys watching. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you later.